Hello, folks, and welcome to the webinar. My name is James Brooke. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Amplience, and I'm joined to deliver the demo today, albeit via recording, as we've had a few logistical challenges in the last couple of days, by Kieran Lane, who's the Director of Sales Engineering in EMEA. Kieran also spent 6 years as a Salesforce SE, so he's very well placed to take you through some of the great functionality we've created as part of our starter kit and show you how that works so well with Salesforce. So what have we got today? Well, a little bit of background about Amplience and how we work with Salesforce Commerce Cloud. We're going to talk why Composable Storefront, explain what's in the starter kit and how we've really thought about merchandising and marketing functionality in particular. And then Kieran's going to drop into the demo. If you've got questions, do fire them into the box along the way. Even though we've recorded some of these sessions, I will be there live. So we will try and pick up those questions and answer them during the webinar. And if we don't get to your particular question, I promise you we will get you by email post. So let's get to it. Let's start with a little bit of background about Amplience and Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Just a little snapshot about us as a company. We're the leading digital experience management company for e-commerce experiences with over 400 customers powering their e-com experiences using the Amplience Commerce Experience platform. 80 of those customers are also on Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and we've been working in the Salesforce Commerce Cloud ecosystem for almost 12 years. We're a founding member of the MAC Alliance. MAC stands for Microservices, API First, Cloud Native, and Headless. And as a result, our platform is totally MAC certified, which means it's built in a very modern way that's absolutely sympathetic to the way that Salesforce is evolving the Commerce Cloud platform. We've got 10 Commerce Cloud headless customers that are pure headless, that are using new front ends and apps and IoT devices and all sorts of other things to drive their e-commerce experience. So we've plenty of experience ourselves in delivering into this new type of composable commerce architecture. We've also got 4 Composable Storefront implementations in flight. And we are delighted to say we have a live customer in Duluth Trading. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the presentation. Before we dive into that, I just wanted to do a quick call out for the developers amongst you. We have just launched our developer portal, which gives developers everything they need to start building fantastically sophisticated commerce experiences, not just on Salesforce Commerce Cloud, but actually to work in any type of Mac or composable architecture. You can check that out at amplience.com/developers. As I said a few minutes ago, we've been working with Salesforce for nearly 12 years, back when they originally were called Demandware. Our first implementations were back in 2012, before even Site Genesis 2 was launched. Since then, we've built a range of different integrations, some based on the link cartridge method, and more recently, integrations that directly access the Amplience high-performance content delivery APIs. With Composable Storefront, we have even more ability to drive and manage and control the storefront, and we'll talk through the way that architecture works in a few moments. But the good news is, folks, that whatever Salesforce stack you're on, we've got you covered. And we have customers that work on Site Genesis, SFRA, Composable Storefront, and are doing DIY headless projects. So whichever way around you want to do it, Amplience is a great partner for you. So before we dive into Composable Storefront specifically, I'll just highlight a couple of features of the existing integrations. As I said, some are link cartridge and some use our content APIs directly. We actually have 2 certified integrations that we've built pre-Composable Storefront. One is for Amplience Dynamic Media. You can see that on the right-hand side here. That's our image and video management solution for retail. It really manages and automates the process of bringing product media and marketing media into the site and automatically transcodes that media. So you get absolutely the best performance, no matter where your customers are accessing your experience from. We also have a slightly more sophisticated microservices-based implementation of the dynamic content integration that pushes content from dynamic content into the Salesforce CMS. So if you're using SFRA or SiteGen, that gives you plenty of ability to manage different elements of the site experience from Amplience. You can also schedule that content to be published at a later date, and you can preview all of that content live in the experience. This, of course, makes great sense if you're on SFRA or SiteGen, but it also makes sense for those of you thinking about a hybrid implementation of Composable Storefront. So, for example, you can use maybe the content pages of the site as the initial target for your Composable Storefront migration, and maybe keep some of the more sophisticated functional pages like account management or basket or order management on the older platform for now. This gives you a bit more flexibility in terms of the way in which you actually migrate from SiteGen or SFRA into the new Composable Storefront feature. And this hybrid approach is supported as a result of us having all of the integrations for the older storefronts, as well as the newer Composable Storefront starter kits and accelerators. Picking up on that, I just thought I'd highlight one of our recent launches here in the UK. Currys is one of the largest electrical retailers in the country. It has a number of stores that are mainly out-of-town stores, so fantastic in-store experience that's also facilitated by the new digital transformation and a fabulous new website, which is built using SFRA. So you don't necessarily have to be in Composable Storefront world to make great use of Amplience. Across the pond, over in with our North American friends, we've also just gone live with Hot Topic, again, an SFRA implementation. Absolutely the best place to buy your Halloween gear. If you're gearing up for a party next weekend, then do check out all the great offers they have on site. So given that you can produce fantastic experiences like the Currys e-commerce experience using SFRA, why go Composable Storefront at all? Well, there are three principal reasons to do that, and in particular to do that with Amplience. The first is really performance. Composable Storefront uses a different type of front-end technology architecture, one called a PWA or Progressive Web App. A PWA is fundamentally a mobile optimized experience. It gives you app-like functionality and capability in that front end so that you can create the best possible mobile experiences for your customers. The great news about PWAs is that they're much more performant. They actually pull the content and data from the APIs more efficiently. They use a format called JSON. JSON is a much more efficient way to move the content and data around that you need to create the front-end experience. And that means that you get better page load speed. Better page load speed fundamentally drives better conversion. Customers can perform the same task much more efficiently. And in the process, it gives them more time to add more product to basket, to browse more content pages, and to engage in a deeper and more valuable way with the rest of your storefront experience. Page load speed also drives SEO ranking. Google uses Core Web Vitals as a key way of measuring your site's effectiveness from a user perspective. So, of course, that contributes to your organic search rankings. And of course, you have direct access to third-party content APIs like the Amplience APIs, which are super fast and high performance. And that gives you much better performance overall throughout the experience. Secondly, agility. Your teams just need better tools. They need to create more content more quickly. They need to be able to perform more tests, to be able to target more segments, and fundamentally take control of the storefront, not just in the Composable Storefront, but across apps and other devices as well. So the integrated media management in Amplience really improves productivity. It helps you get content produced much more quickly. And that improvement in content and change velocity really drives site performance and enables you to achieve your marketing and merchandising objectives faster and more efficiently. And finally, commerce anywhere. The new world is all about composable commerce. Composable commerce really gives you the flexibility that you need architecturally to support all those different types of interactions that consumers want to perform in different channels. You need to be where they are. And to be where they are, you need to support emerging channels quickly and orchestrate that entire experience from a single point. Amplience gives you all of the tools to do that. Great example of a Composable Storefront site in the live is Duluth Trading, and we're delighted to say they went live a few weeks ago. Well done, team. This was actually built by the 64 Labs folks using the 64 Labs accelerator, which builds on all of the starter kit capability that you'll see today. The 64 Labs team, John Duncan and co, have done a fantastic job of helping Duluth move into this new world and create a really rich and performant experience. How performant? Well, I'm not going to run the whole side-by-side video here, but there is a video that we will send you a link to post, which shows you the same customer journey performed on the old site on the right-hand side and on the new site on the left. And to cut to the end of that, because I'm not going to play the whole 2 minutes, 55 seconds of the site Genesis experience, getting to the end of this, The reality is that you can get the same job done in 50% of the time. This means that customers have more time to interact with the site, add products to basket, and ultimately buy more at higher values. What does that solution look like? Well, the 64 Labs team have done a great job of building a turnkey solution that really helps to accelerate your move to Composable Storefront. It integrates not only Amplience with the media and content APIs, but also Algolia for search and merchandising capability. That really drives additional performance improvements because the search APIs from Algolia are very efficient and they work really well with the PWA-based front end. And just a final note on Composable Storefront, we've created a number of resources at Amplience. If you go to the blog, amplience.com/blog, you'll find 3 different blogs, one on accessibility, one on the speed improvements, and one on the way to get to Composable Storefront faster. They give you a pretty good overview of the things you need to think about and why that move really should make sense for you right now. We've also put together a great white paper. You can find that in the resources section of the Amplience site. Okay, so let's spend a little bit of time looking at what's in the Amplience Composable Storefront Starter Kit. A little like the diagram before, where we showed you the different components of the 64 Labs solution, except that Amplience Starter Kit really focuses on the Amplience dynamic media and dynamic content products and doesn't include pre-integrated search components except back into the standard search that you get from Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And the reason for that is that we want to give you the flexibility to add in whatever search engine you prefer. The Composable Storefront Starter Kit is available on GitHub. You can see the URL below. The solutions team led by Neil Mystery and with some fabulous talent in that team has been working really hard though to create a complete storefront experience. You can see the website on the right-hand side, and Kieran's going to take you through that a little bit later. Within that Storefront Starter Kit, we have really focused on support for the key e-commerce roles. And what the Starter Kit gives you is all of the tools that your team needs to deliver against their KPIs. And I realize this is a much simplified view of your e-commerce organizations. But if we just pick on a few of those roles in particular, I'll highlight how it is the Storefront is supporting them now and also talk about some upcoming features. So for marketers, customer acquisition, SEO, brand engagement, and lifetime value are really important from a KPI perspective. So they spend a great deal of time thinking about those campaigns, optimizing search engine performance, building customer groups and segmentation, setting up the personalization, and doing the brand storytelling. So they have lots of tasks that they need to perform on site that are fairly demanding in terms of setting up and managing campaign banners and landing pages, doing that SEO optimization, writing blogs, setting up feature articles, and building editorial content. To support them, the Starter Kit features some really fantastic capability. We've worked very hard to ensure that targeting against customer groups is part of the Starter Kit. So Kieran will show you that in the demo in a few moments, and I'll pick on a couple of those features in the next few slides. But it really gives you very powerful capabilities, not just to set up different variants for different customer groups, but using our X-ray panel, the ability to actually get inside that in the preview experience. So you can actually see each one of those customer groups and the personalization rules firing. So you can see exactly which content is going to appear for each segment on the site. We've also got some capability for shoppable images. So you can take an image, you can mark it up with hotspots, you can link that image off to various different products or parts of the site. That takes customers from inspiration to purchase and really starts to merge content and commerce and build a much more integrated experience that takes customers, again, through that, from that inspiration moment through the site in a much more efficient way and builds a much more integrated experience. Coming up in the Starter Kit is some shoppable video. I'll leave the explanation of that till later, but it does what you think it probably does in the sense of being able to mark up products in the video and enable customers to go from inspiration to purchase again. And in the Starter Kit roadmap, we've got some blog and editorial content capability coming. If we have time, we'll tag in the blog and editorial demo to the end of the webinar. If we don't, we will ping that onto you separately, but it gives you the capability to create and manage those blogs, but also tag up those blogs so that customers can slice and dice by product, category, theme, etc. For merchants who are really focused on selling product through at the highest possible gross margin, trying to drive up average order values, improve conversions and reduce returns, They obviously have a lot to do managing each one of those categories as a micro shop in its own right. And so content management of that is absolutely key, but they also want to produce collections of content, manage that product experience as much as they can at PDP, and ideally build guiding selling tools that really replicate the in-store experience online so that customers are really taken through a journey around a category so they can buy the best product to fulfill their shopping mission. Starter Kit features include the content managed product grid. This has been a source of massive frustration for Salesforce customers over the years. We've created a really elegant UI extension that really enables you to manage exactly how product assortments are viewed in the grid, and you can also content manage different parts of that grid. That gives you really great capability to really get the right combination of content and commerce again in front of the customer and drive those merchandising objectives. We've also got standard capability like product sliders. We can bring product data directly into most of the types of content in the starter kit. And again, you've got capability like shoppable images. So you can go from quite a rich lifestyle scene, for example, and take consumers through that into the product pages themselves. Coming up, again, shoppable video, but also better support for Einstein in the next few releases. So you'll be able to set up and configure the way in which Einstein is using its sort of very powerful AI tools to improve the performance of the content and the product promotion on the site itself. Moving on to developers, I've already touched on the developer portal. That's available to everyone, regardless of Composable Storefront or not. So do check that out, amplience.com/developers. Obviously, developers want to get things done quickly and efficiently. Completed user stories, performance, reliability, and scalability are all key. Much of that comes from the base Composable Storefront starter kit, and we've provided a capability within that so that you can get access to most of the core storefront content types, UI extension framework. You can get access to Salesforce Commerce Cloud's product APIs. An integrated preview debug panel also helps developers to ensure that whatever they're seeing on screen is actually what should be seen on screen, and start to make sure that experience is as seamless and effective as possible. We'll be adding additional content types and components over the next few months to the starter kit, but it's really there and ready to go. Obviously, the UX design and content teams do a lot of the heavy lifting on that site experience. They're also optimizing for accessibility, findability, usability, productivity, and conversion. Quite a range of different KPIs there. They've got brand guidelines to manage, a design system, the taxonomy, the way the site's organized, content strategy, copy, artwork, localization. There's a ton of different capabilities in Amplience and the Composable Storefront starter kit that really help with this. Things like hierarchies for taxonomy, Salesforce Commerce Cloud product category integration, so that you can actually start to build a much more sophisticated nav, one that you can content manage. And that's really important because the nav is often the first part of the site that customers actually experience. So that ability to content manage the nav and actually use some of the automated components from Salesforce, but overwrite the top level nav so that you can actually create the taxonomy that you want, gives you really great control over that experience. We're also building some additional capabilities in Amplience that will filter through into the starter kit that will give you much better control over things like page layout, much more WYSIWYG capability a la Page Designer. So look out for those. We'll let you know when they are released. So let's pick on a few of those capabilities before we go into the demo. I just wanted to pick up on the last one that I spoke through, which is really the management of the site nav. So you can see here we're in the Amplience dynamic content backend. Again, Kieran will take you through this in more detail later. We've actually got a UI extension in the middle of the screen here, which is connected into the Commerce Cloud catalog. That's bringing through the automated taxonomy from the product catalog, but it's enabling us to link that into a hierarchy that's managing the top level navigation in Amplience. So you can see on the left here, we've got a hierarchy that says new arrivals, women's, men's, Amplience, etc. That's reflected over here on the right-hand side in the Composable Storefront application itself. And what we've got in the middle is this UI extension, which enables us to connect in a navigation key against each one of those top-level nodes. And that enables us to take control over that top-level nav and do some really sophisticated things with it. So look out for that. We're also going to spend a bit of time showing you how the personalization works in the starter kit demo. And what you're looking at here is, again, dynamic content form on the left-hand side. We can put different content variants into different slots. Those slots can then be tagged with customer groups. Now, what we've built is the ability to bring through those customer groups, those user segments from Commerce Cloud, and surface those into content and tag up content using different user segments. So as you can see here, here's the integration. It's another UI extension that goes and fetches that from a little integration that we built specifically for Composable Storefront. That gives your team access to all of the customer groups that we've set up. And of course, that means that we can now start targeting in all sorts of interesting ways. The challenge with that, of course, is that it's quite difficult to know exactly how those rules are working together and what's being shown why in each one of those slots. So we've also improved the sort of X-ray panel capabilities, if you like, of the Amplience Starter Kit. So you can now see inside all of the different content components when you're in visualization mode. And that enables you to do two things. One, you can simulate which of the personalization rules and customer groups that are being shown. So at the moment, we've selected everyone, as you can see here. And then on the right-hand side, you'll notice there's this P and a C. If you click on the P, what you get is a full breakdown of exactly what is being fired at what particular time. That gives you a complete view, an X-ray view into the content. So you can make sure that the right content's being shown for the right customer group. Again, Kieran will show you that in a few moments. And then one of my favorites, this is managing the merchandising grid. Again, we've got the Amplience form on the left-hand side. In the form itself, we've got, as you can see, in-grid content that we can add into the content slot itself. So you can see on the right-hand side here, we've got our merchandising grid, our product grid. But you'll notice that the product grid, we've actually taken over slots 1 and 2, and we've merged those two cells into a single takeover, and that takeover has actually got a bit of content in. Now, the great news about this is it can also be personalized content. So you can really start to build some very sophisticated experiences indeed using those personalization rules and take full control over the product grid. That gives your teams exactly what they need to create the kind of experiences that really get consumers excited. So that's enough preamble from me. Hopefully that's given you a good overview of all the capabilities that we support in Amplience, where we are with the starter kit, what's upcoming, all sorts of exciting functionality is going to come down the track. But for now, I'm going to stop and I'm going to drop into Kieran's very good demo recording, and I'll come back at the end. And as I say, I will be on this live, so we'll take questions at the end and we'll pick up on anything you've put into that box. But for now, it's over to you, Kieran.
Thanks, James. So what exactly is Composable Storefront Starter Kit? Well, in essence, it's an accelerator built by the Amplience Solutions team, where effectively they've taken the Composable Storefront framework from Salesforce and infused and supercharged it with Amplience. It's designed for use by partners and customers, both technical and business alike, to understand how Amplience can be used with Composable Storefront. It also includes a number of out-of-the-box components that can be used and extended and used within your implementation to bring your Composable Storefront to life. Now, the best way for me to show this is through a bit of a quick demo. What you're looking at here is a Composable Storefront. This is a live instance, should look pretty familiar to a lot of people. We have our top-level navigation where we're pulling the catalog from e-commerce, but as we look further down the page, we start to see this content coming from Amplience. In this case, we have a women's fashion banner with a lady wearing some sunglasses. We have some editorial content. We have another men's fashion banner oriented slightly different from the women's. And we have a product list or product carousel showing, in this case, some shirts, again, being pulled from ecom. All pretty standard so far. But as we look a little bit closer, if we hover over the women's navigation, we start to see the subcategories or the sub-catalog being brought through from e-commerce again. But on the right-hand side, we're seeing a piece of content. It's that familiar lady with the sunglasses. What we're effectively doing here is showing the power of Amplience, where you create one piece of content once and you can execute it across multiple places within the site. If we have a look at the women's category this time, we're seeing that women's fashion banner once again. As we scroll down, we see a different product carousel, in this case for some ladies' trousers. And a little bit further down, we start to see the familiar standard navigation and product assortment coming from ecom. On the left-hand side, we have our search facets and we have our product assortment on the right. Now, sprinkled within this, we also have some other pieces of content. In this case, a new season call out and another call out towards a sale. All of this is being brought together by Amplience. Now, to show you how this works, I'd like to take you behind the scenes into dynamic content, where I, as a content author, content creator, have access to all of the content that you've seen on that storefront. And I've organized it into some folders here on the left-hand side. But I also have the ability to search using our filters, where I can identify content based on its type, its assignment, modification, and locales. But I can also create net new content by clicking on the Create Content button. Here, what this does is it gives me access to those pre-built components that we spoke about earlier. In particular, content pages, product lists, rich text, shoppable image, as well as some personalized content. And we'll cover these a little bit later on in the demo. Now, at this moment in time, I'm more interested in the existing content. And in particular, we have the women's fashion banner. We can see the lady with the sunglasses, and we can open this up. Now, as this loads, on the left-hand side is what we call our content form. And effectively, what we're doing is we're breaking down this banner into its constituent components, in particular, a title, an image, and a call to action. On the right-hand side is our real-time visualization. This is a real instance of Composable Storefront that's going to give us real feedback on any of the changes that we make on the left-hand side. Now, we had a bit of a discussion earlier on that it's getting a bit cooler, and maybe we need to update some of the content on our site. So I'm going to change this banner to say winter is coming. Now, as you see on the right-hand side, as I type, we're seeing live feedback on how that's going to look. And the same thing happens with the images, where we have what we call a UI extension, which invokes and calls up Content Hub, our post-production DAM, where I have access to all of our assets, and I can choose a more suitable image. As soon as I hit Add, real-time visualization kicks in, and I see that live update. I can then also update other elements of this banner, such as change the latest to offers, real-time visualization giving me that live feedback and that live view. And I also have some other UX elements and controls. In this case, I can toggle the image to be full width or not, and I can change things like text alignment from left to center, and maybe I'm going to change the vertical alignment from the start down to the end. Now, before I hit save, I want to make sure that that's going to look beautiful across all viewpoints on my site. So using real-time visualization, I can use this drop-down list to view it on a tablet and on a mobile, and it all looks very good to me. I'll go back to our large desktop, safe the knowledge that I can hit save. Now, one of the things with Amplience is we have what we call a visualization pop-out, where what we can do now is preview that change live on the site in its entirety. So clicking on the pop-out visualization, this opens up a new tab where initially I will see that content update in isolation, and then I can start going through the site, going onto the homepage and seeing how it's going to look. If I hover over our women's in the navigation, we have that content updated once again, and going into our women's category, it's updated there. Now, that was a couple of clicks, a bit of typing, and that one single update has been executed across multiple parts of the site. This is of huge performance gains and productivity gains for any merchandising trading teams that needs a little bit of extra time. Now, there's other components that I'd love to show you. So if we go back to our content library, one of them in particular that you would have seen previously is what we call our simple product list. So opening this up, what I do is I have my content form once again on the left-hand side with the title, and also you're going to start seeing some product tiles loading up as well as the real-time visualization on the right-hand side. Now, what this is actually pulling the products from Salesforce in real time. This isn't data being synchronized. This is doing a real API call and giving me a number of products. And using this drag and drop interface, I can change the orientation of these products. Real-time visualization giving me that live feedback at all times. Now, what I can do is I can delete some of these, and I can start looking for maybe other products that might be of interest to me for my winter campaign. So what I can do is I can search for jacket, and it's going to call Salesforce and look for other products that I can go and I can click and add. And as I add them and as I change them, real-time visualization's kicking in as well. And similarly, I can use the drag and drop interface to change that orientation. That looks pretty good. Will I keep that? I'll take that one out. We'll add in a belted safari jacket, my favorite. And we'll hit save. That's great. Now, going back to the content library, there are other elements that I really, really like. And one of those, which is my particular favorite lately, is our shoppable image. So this is this summer women shoppable, where we load this up. And again, we get those elements within this piece of content. And in this case, we have an image. But there's certain things within the image that we might want to link to. In this case, we have a handbag, we have a shirt, and we may have some sunglasses. If I edit this, I can add what we term hotspots. I can edit, I can move, I can change. And as you see, as I drag and drop this around the page on the real-time visualization, I'm seeing that update. And what we've done is we've created this sunglass is going to call out to some content. This polygon here is going to call out to some product. Using the real-time visualization, I can click on this and I get my content, or I can click on this product here and it brings me through to the PDP. Again, really quick and easy things that you can do that merchandising trading teams have been looking for a long time, and it's all included in our starter kit. What we also have is bringing some of those elements together. We have what we call our personalization. So this is our personalized grid for women. And what we're doing is what we've created is a default experience, which you might recognize previously before, which is our new season campaign. And what we've also been able to do is define what we call variants. So content that we're going to show other people. And those other people are the customer groups from within Salesforce. So again, using an API extension or a UI extension, we call back to Salesforce to go and return those customer groups. And we have some content here. So again, nice, easy way to go and build that. And I'll show you how that works in a couple of moments. Now, one of the best kept secrets of Amplience is that while we do content, we can also do things like configuration. So if I jump into what we call our site components here, I can load what we call our hierarchy. And in this case, we've created a main navigation. So as this loads on the left-hand side is we have what we call a hierarchy tree. And if you look at it, you might recognize it in that we have main navigation, arrivals, women's, and men's. And if I just move this over slightly, you'll recognize that it's our top level navigation. And what it allows us to do is create some configuration changes within Amplience. So in this case, one of the biggest requests that we often get is how do I update the logo in my site? We've, again, using the UI extension, we can go in and view Content Hub and look for any of those other logos. So I'm going to swap out that Amplience logo and put in the Anya Finn logo. Again, that's giving me that real-time view as to what's happening, how it's happening, and I'll just hit save. That's now putting that into effect. With this hierarchy tree, we can also add in what we call nodes. And those nodes can be external links, they can be internal links, they can be content pages, or they can be categories. And it's the category page that's particularly interesting. And an example of this is our women's category. So when we start looking at category navigation and controlling this in CMS, it could become a bit of a contentious topic. We don't think it has to be. And let me show you why. Because again, you might want to have this controlled by CMS, or you want to have it controlled by ecom. The power that we bring is, again, we have a title here, again, a constituent component of this navigation. In this case, it's women's, and we might call this fashion, or we might change this to be winter. And you'll notice that on the right-hand side, that real-time visualizations, seeing that update being made in real time. We can then also assign those pieces of content that we've created previously. And this is where we also have the beauty of our UI extension, where what we can do is we can call ecommerce. So what we do is we do this drop-down list. We can actually see calling ecom to say what are the subcategories or what are the categories that we want to bring through. So as we hover over this, it's going to pull these directly from ecommerce. It's not something that you define within Amplience, although you could. And we also have a nice mix and match where you can do all of them together. We've also then implemented things like slots, which if you're familiar with Salesforce, is a pretty standard concept. And then what we have is our product listing page down here. And you might remember our piece of content that we have here, which is our personalized grid content or our personalized grid for women. And what we've done is we've actually added in some other UX controls, which are really, really nice, where you can see that this is effectively 2 columns wide. But what we can also do using these drop downs, we can make it to be 2 rows high, or we can change it to be 1 column high. Again, real-time visualization is kicking in so that we can see that update and seeing how it's going to look on our storefront. And we're going to hit save. And again, using our visualization, we can pop out to see what that's going to look like on that site. So here is our category page with all of the content loading, as well as that update that we've just made to it. Now, you might remember, taking a step back, I quickly showed you some personalization content and how we can really tailor this experience to use customer groups. This is something that has always been a bit of a challenge for customers looking at Composable Storefront. For the eagle-eyed view, you may see on the left-hand side is what we call our X-ray panel. And this allows us to interact with the front end and invoke certain experiences. And one of these might be our personalization. So while we're looking at this from our guest unknown user, we can also then look at it to sort of say, I want to see it based on my everyone group. And what we're going to do is see that predefined variant that we put on previously has now been updated and brought through into the site. This X-ray panel really elevates how you can take the guesswork out of everything that you're doing in Composable Storefront. So that was a quick spin through of the solution kit or of the starter kit. I hope that was of interest. We'd love your feedback. It is available on GitHub. We will send the details a little later on. Please do give us any questions, and we value your feedback. And hopefully you'll start using it and finding it of some use. Back to you, James.
Thank you, Kieran, for that demo. I think it shows some of the very powerful features that are in the starter kit. I did also mention earlier that we would give you a quick preview of the editorial capability that we're about to launch into the starter kit. That's upcoming very shortly. So Kieran's recorded a little segment here, which will take you through how to create blog and editorial content. This is obviously great for marketers that are looking to do some brand storytelling, but also improve their search engine marketing performance. I will then come back and we'll take some questions live.
Another really interesting and common use case that we see is that around blog or editorial content, and Amplience has you covered. Going back into my content library, here is a number of blog content that I've pre-created already within my system, and I'm going to edit one of these. In this case, it's going to be the Anna Bartnett for the Love of Food. Opening it up, I see our familiar content form on the left-hand side and our real-time visualization. Now, with blog content, there's certain data that we find being a trend, such as creation dates and categories that you might wish to apply. These are used for finding fresh content, the latest content, and for search purposes as well. We also see things like images that will be used for thumbnails across various parts of the site and social media. We can also ensure that alternate text is applied for SEO and accessibility, as well as any SEO text and display information that we want to give. We can also apply things like titles. So in this case, for the love of food, if I wanted to change this for the love of good food, as you see, as I'm changing on the left-hand side, the real-time visualization's kicking on the right-hand side. We also have the idea of being able to define code snippets or short text. We can provide in other links or backlinks, keywords, and tags. I can then also add other tags from the system using our hierarchies. Nice, quick, and easy. Then we also have the likes of a rich text editor, which as I type and make any modifications, you'll start seeing that changing in real time on the right-hand side. But I think you'll agree this is quite a rich piece of content with text, with images. We can put videos into this. It is quite rich. And we can also import other pieces of content that we've shown you further on or earlier on in this demo. And at all times, you can click on the pop-out. And what this is going to do is invoke our real-time visualization to go and give you a real-time view of that page in its full glory. And I think you'll agree that's pretty nice looking. Going back to our home blog page, all of those tags, all of those categories that we've applied using our filter API, we can now assign this. So if we start looking for something like Anna, which is our content it's returned, or if we wanted to look at certain categories, being beauty or authors, we can go and we can apply those through as well. So again, a nice, small, interesting use case that we commonly see in Amplience.